Hope you brought your appetite because we're grilling witches in today's movie. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek. I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and today we're tackling Michael Armstrong and Adrian Hoven's early splatter film, Mark of the Devil. Released in 1970, Mark of the Devil became infamous for its level of gore. It's pretty quaint by today's standards, but it was so shocking back in its time that they gave audience members their very own barf bags ahead of screenings. Featuring a great cast and some impressive special effects, Mark of the Devil still holds up as a historical horror film. But can it deliver 5 barf bags worth of splatter? Let's get to the gore and find out. Oh, and before we get started, today's video is sponsored by patrons Taylor Balling, Garen Primer, and Josh Obershaw. Hope I didn't butcher anyone's name. If you'd like to sponsor some videos and free me from the shackles of YouTube's tyranny, you'll find a link to my Patreon in the pinned comment and description below. And now, let's get bloody. We open on the German countryside, as seen through every Instagram filter ever. It's mostly vignette. Man, title fonts sure have come a long way. I don't know if this music matches the title. Feels like I'm about to watch Sound of Music. Not gonna lie, Sound of Music would have been a lot cooler with witches and Satanism. Hey, it's Udo Kier. Last time we saw him, he was mansplaining Suspiria to Susie Banyan. And Herbert fucks.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you pervs. It's a name, not a verb. How nice, they filmed this movie during breaks down at Pioneer Days. Wait, we got Gabby fucks too? Am I allowed to cover this movie on YouTube? Horniest credits ever. I bet the rap party was wild.
There are 500 crowns to be shared among you.
Our first line is spoken by Budget Keith Richards in a funny hat.
I need the monk and the youngest of the nuns alive. With the others, you can do as you please.
I had no idea Captain Barbossa was in this movie. I'll get you, Jack Sparrow. These dudes are taking the long way to Woodstock, and they have to keep pausing to let these credits through. Hey, you know what would make this chase scene even more exciting? If we freeze-framed it every 2.5 seconds. Now that the credits are over, we can get down to the business of defiling some nuns. Most movies I watch wait at least 5 minutes to get to the nunsploitation. Meanwhile, over at the Ren Fair...
Finally, the accused number 3 is confessed to having had illicit intercourse with the devil on Goat's Mountain.
He says that like it's a bad thing. Wow, Oktoberfest is really killing it this year. They even brought this bosomy wench. Say what you will, but one of the good things about the executioner here is he's really hands-off with his work. Plus, he's got the world's best exfoliant. I gotta say, the rough cut of Follow That Bird was really different. Back at the plaza, a pair of suspected witches are about to play hot or not. Keith Richards' verdict? Hot. Man, these witches smell delicious. He smoked them just right. Turns out our buxom brunette must be a vegetarian. She decides to head out now that she's abreast of the situation. And since our victim is stuck in this hopeless conundrum, she takes this time to burn some bridges.
She's the one who had intercourse with the devil on Goat's Mountain!
Now that we're done with the exciting stuff, the movie gives us some scrolling text.
It is estimated nearly 8 million people were convicted of heresy and executed by fanatical witch hunters.
8 million, huh? I only counted 2 women, personally.
This motion picture shows 3 cases taken from authentic documents from the time when witch hunting had reached its peak.
Man, I love it. This is an educational film. We restart the movie in King's Landing, where our leading lady runs to report her findings to Littlefinger. Oh god, she really is an Oktoberfest girl. She's hard at work getting Udo Kier wasted. Turns out he's just there to work. He's given Budget Keith Richards his marching orders.
I can't read.
It's a proclamation about Lord Cumberland's arrival.
That's some real big dick energy from Udo here. Low-key shaming the guy for being illiterate. Nice. But Keith's not going to take this lying down. He's going to make sure everyone remembers who the big man in town is.
I am the witch finder in this town.
Plus, he can't read, but he can burn witches at a 10th grade level. But enough about work. Let's ogle the bar wench. Man, does Udo Kier even blink in this scene? With Udo gone, they decide to talk behind his back. That's right, it's time for some exposition.
Who are they?
The attendant and executioner of Lord Cumberland.
That means we can prepare for more executions.
And with that, Best Value Keith is out. I'm gonna go work on a new song. It's about digging through ditches and burning through witches. Here, Keith admonishes drummer Charlie Watts for not coming up with more hits.
And I want them tomorrow morning.
But where will I...
Even if you have to write all night.
Well, since I'm gonna be up all night, I better mix up an extra strong batch of horse. The Stones' excesses really were legendary. That's not a spoon, it's a whole platter. With Charlie doing the grunt work, Keith pulls the typical lead guitarist move and heads to the bar to chase birds. But she's no average groupie. She slices him like a loaf of bread, but he's not bothered. A feisty one. With no other choice, Keith accuses her of witchery so that he can save face. Given his new scar, maybe a little late for that.
Stop that witch!
And I guess we'll just have her witch trial here.
Look, a sign of the devil's on her mouth.
After sticking her like she's a pincushion, his fun is interrupted by Udo Kier and his drinking buddies. They do some jibber-jabber, and then Udo's pal gives Keith a taste of his pimp hand. But the punishment doesn't end there.
10 lashes to remind him that he serves God.
10 lashes? Probably like that. God damn, I guess they're just gonna carry out that sentence on his face. Somewhere the guys in Devo are smiling. Later that night, Udo plays some Cannibal Holocaust theme music over dinner. I guess this will set the mood. I'm just not sure what the mood is supposed to be. Look at her. She's mimicking his every move. This is the weirdest version of My Fair Lady ever. Then he gives her the old smoky eye. Yep, gets him every time. Not sure if this is a bedchamber or a kill room. Could go either way. These might be the brightest candles in history. You can probably see into her room from outer space. The next morning, Vamp Elvira is awoken by the Stanford Marching Band. Maybe it's just Keith and Charlie rehearsing for the next Stones tour. Turns out Lord Cumberland is finally going to show up, but first they gotta clean out the riffraff. Dude better be Richard Burton or Oliver Reed after all this build-up. Then this happens.
Stop it! Come on, you miserable bastard!
Close, but let's let Linda Day George show you how it's done.
Bastard! Bastard!
Much better. As Udo sends her back to the inn to fix him some breakfast, Keith Richards gets to work on getting some satisfaction. Armed with a grip of false charges, Keith sets out to get himself a witch. Can't he just go for a honky-tonk woman instead? After breakfast, Udo and Vanessa decide to jog to Switzerland. I feel like this movie is all over the place tonally. One second we're burning people alive and whipping people in the face, the next it's the opening credits to Little House on the Prairie. It's nice Udo wore his best Prince costume for the date. He could be a backup singer on Sheila E.'s Romance 1600 tour with that getup. And that, my friends, is a deep-cut joke. No one else on YouTube is making that reference. Despite his best efforts to stay as chaste as possible, Udo's B-movie brunette has started to wear him out. Maybe this is the year he finally scores. Oh yeah, he's totally scoring. While Udo gets busy, Herbert Lom's Lord Cumberland arrives for his inspection. And I guess we're gonna see him arrive in real time. I mean, sure, why not? I've got plenty of free time. While Cumberland checks the latrine, Keith Richards continues to carry the torch for the one that got away. Well, not an actual torch. I feel like I should clarify that since he has lit people on fire already in this movie. And now he's swatting her off his cloud. He's like Babyface with the whip appeal right now. I mean, dude's whipping her like she's his beast of burden. How many more Stones references can I cram into this script? Place your bets now. Meanwhile, Cumberland stops to read the script. This is terrible. And now, Mark of the Devil basically becomes a courtroom drama. It's like Law & Order, Satanic Victims Unit. If you guessed our next case involves Vanessa, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. She's accused of fornicating with the devil, which is probably her best option given the inbred locals. After all the courtroom drama, Cumberland takes Udo out to the yard to remind him of the moral of this story.
One day, you too shall be a great witch hunter, provided you never succumb to temptation of the flesh.
But he also lets the audience know that he's gonna torture her.
Don't become soft. She is a witch.
Then we meet this guy, who stole Seinfeld's puffy shirt. He says he's possessed or something. Udo's like, oh man, this is awkward. We wore the same shirt. Down in the dungeon, these witchfinders ply their holy trade and dispense some hot justice. It's sort of charmingly quaint to think that Mark of the Devil was considered super gory in its time. I've seen Disney witches suffer worse fates than this. While that's going on, Puffy Shirt Guy is getting a royal serving of pimp hands. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Once they're done beating him up, they throw him in a cell next door to Vanessa. Cumberland eventually shows up to play Let's Make a Deal. Behind door number 1, you give up everything and save your soul. Door number 2, eternal damnation and suffering. Now hurry up, I gotta go make Return of the Pink Panther. Then he drops some medieval tax law on him.
If you are executed as a sorcerer, your money passes to the church anyway.
Afterwards, we get to check out this rack.
Hell yeah.
Again, not like that, you pervs. I mean the torture device. But her boobs are out, and I can't show you that, so this close-up will have to suffice. And she's really squealing. She'll be confessing to stealing the Lindbergh baby at this rate. So, how do we transition from a scene that dark? With some Skinamax-style softcore sex, of course. Do we even know these people? I think this reel was replaced by a seduction cinema film. Here they come, walking down the street, like a Puritan version of the Monkees. Keith and the Creepers head upstairs to watch the softcore live. This is what they did in the days before Skinamax. Upstairs, Charlie makes the common mistake of assuming the drummer gets the groupie before the lead guitarist. Keith taps out a beat on his face in the key of Pimp Hand. Then he gives the girl some too. What a time to be alive. Not to be outdone, Cumberland gets right to the point. I can't show you this bare butt because it's too scandalous for Prude to, but Herb wants to know where these guys are getting their puffy shirts. Tired of playing second fiddle to Pioneer Days Keith Richards, Charlie Watts rats him out to the man. Back in the dungeon, the crew settles in for another scene in this Hostel prequel. She's about to get tongue-tied. That seems a bit barbaric, plus how's she supposed to confess without a tongue? This crew needs to work on their logistics. After his latest drunken incident, Keith Richards gets kicked out of the band.
As from tonight, I relieve you of your authority.
Man, do you know how badly you have to screw up to get kicked out of the Stones? Keith's not taking it well, so he starts insulting Cumberland. Bad idea. The Witchfinder then chokes him out. You could say he's pretty breathtaking. Has Keith finally played his last riff? Sure looks like it. And as if things couldn't get worse, Udo saw the whole thing. Afterwards, Herb does some more script rewrites. You know what would make this movie better? Me as the lead. Out in the plaza, it's grilling season. And like any great cut of meat, this lady's gonna get a good sear. Don't flip her till she sizzles. Back at the river, Udo gives us another scene where he never blinks. This is a thespian at the top of his game. Over in the dungeon, Herb demands answers. You will tell me where you got that sweet puffy shirt, sir, or I'll damn your soul to hell. Since the stabbings and the beatings aren't working, they're gonna give Seinfeld some time in the hot seat. I've heard of toasting your buns, but this seems ridiculous. Last time when things got too dark in the dungeon, they cut to a sex scene. This time they cut to a puppet show? This must be their first puppet show because these morons think the marionettes are sentient.
Those puppets not only talk, but can answer correctly questions they're asked.
And there are a lot of people in here. They're gonna have to expand the dungeon if they're gonna torture everybody. They decide to make some arrests, but Charlie Watts isn't cut out for scrapping. He's getting his ass kicked by a 5-year-old and his mother. Back at the office, Udo works on his staring skills. Turns out he's having a crisis of faith.
My cause is just. God is just.
For you or for the murdered albino?
Look at Herb's face. He's like, you better recognize. They're interrupted by this dolt.
The advocate and I have discovered 2 witches possessing human dolls that speak.
Udo, meanwhile, finally grows a spine.
Why order an indictment?
Because they must burn as witches.
But they're innocent.
Careful, he'll burn you at the stake too.
I'm sure the Spanish boot will convince him.
Spanish boot? What, was the Portuguese loafer occupied? Udo then breaks Vanessa out, and we get the worst thing ever. A stealth and escort mission. God, I hate those. But they do make it out and kiss under the romantic tones of Blue Filter mid-afternoon. Udo can't run away just yet, though. He needs to save Seinfeld from a caning. Man, they're just splattering paint on him. Puppet Lady, meanwhile, has an important interview booked with Cumberland. Just be sure not to say the word impotent and you'll be fine. Herb's gonna set her free, but only if she can cure him of his impotency. What a deal. Holy shit, she is a witch. She turned him into a rabbit. Oh, maybe not. Let's hope that isn't the second course. And finally, the climax ramps up. Udo is here, and every non-Udo in this place is in deep trouble. Unfortunately, Udo only made it about 8 steps before he got caught by Cumberland. It was a pretty heroic 8 steps. Oh yeah, Udo's getting the hook. Literally. And now we get to the film's moral center.
He's a murderer! Kill him! Yes, he's a devil!
The best way to right a wrong is with another wrong. Let's get an angry mob together to torture the torturers. Cumberland, meanwhile, is implementing a scorched earth policy for his retreat.
You'll ride with all your men into town and kill every man, woman, and child who dares to stand against me.
Don't look now, but the natives are restless. Have fun storming the castle. With the angry mob bearing down on them, Cumberland orders his favorite witches to be killed fast pass style. Skip the lines and go straight to hell. Man, I don't think that's what he meant by take a little off the top. Lord Cumberland, in a desperate bid to escape the mob, hightails it to Winterfell. His only hope of escape is to head north and take the Black. Unfortunately, he gets cornered by the mob and decides it's time for him to fly. Maybe that's what REO Speedwagon was talking about. You kids even remember REO Speedwagon? Christ, I'm old. Cumberland flees in his carriage and Udo's left behind to do damage control. This might not end well for him. Udo learns an important lesson. The mob giveth, and the mob taketh away. Let's hope his girlfriend manages to save him before he gets drawn and quartered. Oh my god, are they taking him up to the Wicker Man? Watch out for Christopher Lee in a sweater. Then the crazy old scribe arrives to take Udo's measurements for his corset. Things look bleak, but Vanessa finally shows up. I'm sure this will lead to a happy ending, right? Maybe not. Well, at least he'll be a little taller after all that stretching. Despite all her running, Vanessa's too late and Udo is dead. It's for the best. Maybe now he can finally close his eyes. I don't think he blinked once this entire movie. And the movie ends with Cumberland and Budget Charlie Watts still alive and killing innocents. Ah yes, another spiritually uplifting episode of Sick Flicks. So, what have we learned from Mark of the Devil? Well, for starters, being a woman in the age of witch trials was pretty terrible. Oh, and that Udo Kier never blinks. It's funny to think the Mark of the Devil was originally considered controversial for its level of gore. It's pretty quaint by today's standards in much the same way H.G. Lewis's films are. That being said, you have to respect the pioneers, and this was definitely an important film in splatter film history. But how many barf bags will Mark of the Devil fill? Let's go to the gore card! In terms of gross anatomy, Mark of the Devil delivers. We're treated to multiple stabbings, a tongue removal, graphic burnings, multiple amputations, and a beheading. The effects look fairly primitive by modern standards, but this one still deserves props for its historical importance. Because of that, I'm giving Mark of the Devil a 4 barf bag rating. Is it super splattery by today's standards? No. But it was pretty damn impressive for its time, and we may not have splatter films today without titles like this one paving the way. Looking for another gory movie about witches? Then be sure to check out my review of Suspiria. You'll find a link here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.